Body piercing safety. How to know if your piercer's being safe while they're piercing you. We're going to go through the setup and teardown of doing a body piercing. So stick around. Those who don't know me or new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I'm the owner and operator of the Axiom Body Piercing Studio in Des Moines, Iowa, and we're located inside Skin Kitchen. When I talk to you about those things, I talk to you from a level of expertise of doing this close to 25 years and learning a lot to keep my clients safe and myself safe. First off, disclaimer time. This is in no way, shape, or form a guide on how to start piercing. You really do need to learn under someone else, and in the future I will probably work out some what you need to do to start piercing video. It's in the pipe. It's coming along, that pipeline. But this is more for the client to come in and look around and know whether or not their piercer is safe and some of the things that they should look for or pay attention to during the piercing process and after. Now, I'm not saying that halfway through procedure, if your piercer does something terrible, that you run away. What I'm saying is that you should point these things out to them and maybe not go back. So let's get into it. All right, so let's get started. What are the things that you should watch for when your piercer is piercing you or even simply changing jewelry? There's some concepts that you need to consider when it comes to setup, how they do that, what's going on during that procedure. The biggest thing is, and I touched on this briefly last week, is zoning or setting up separate sections or ideas to avoid cross-contaminating one thing to another. Mainly our main goals here are to not contaminate the open wound, as in the piercing, to isolate equipment that we might be using from there to there, and to make sure that we do not contaminate anything in that is sterile, and that we place contaminated items into an area that is safe and not going to lead to the possibility of infection either of myself or anyone else. First thing we always do whenever we walk into a piercing station is wash our hands. Usually 30 seconds of friction. Then we'll start setting up our equipment. Now, the key with this, first off, we disinfect with a hard surface cleaner like Malicide, Composite, and various different brands that are on the market. This is just like a very high-end, intensive disinfectant. It will kill most bloodborne pathogens, airborne pathogens, and items within a few minutes or a few seconds of contact. So the idea is we kill off as much as we can initially and decontaminate or at least disinfect this area. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put down a drape. Or in this case, basically it's a second barrier. In this case we're using a dental bib. It is plastic and moisture resistant on one side. We place that down into the area. This gives us a clean surface to work off of. Also, because it's kind of got a cloth-like texture, it eliminates things moving around a lot. So next we're going to start pulling out equipment. This particular piercing, we're going to use a set of forceps. So what we're going to do is first off, start putting tools down into the piercing area. And if you'll notice, all of these come in sterile packaging. The reason for that is to eliminate the possibility of contaminating things before we get started. So what I'm going to do is try to put everything in there that I might need for this particular piercing. Here's a piece of jewelry I opened earlier, but we're going to use that as an example. Now I've got everything set up, everything I possibly need. The idea is to get as much that might be needed during the piercing into this area. Now, if you are really anal retentive and you want to ask your piercer whether or not it's sterile or not, here's some things you want to look for. Indicators. Indicators will determine, here's what you want to look for. Indicators. All of these come brand new. They have an adhesive strip here. It's plastic on one side, paper on the other side. Notice the big difference between the two of these, and that's this black mark. What that means is that the indicator has told us that this has been heated up to 121 degrees Celsius under 15 pounds of pressure and kept there for at least 20 minutes. This says, no, it hasn't been done yet. So when in doubt, look for those black marks, ask your piercer. People use different types of pouches. Some will change different colors, what have you. Some will use additional indicators just to be on the safe side. So now that we've got everything set up right here that we might need for this piercing, we're going to do one thing, and that is we're going to don gloves. Even though our hands are clean, what gloves do is it allows us to create another barrier that is not in contact with our skin that can be easily removed to avoid additional contamination. It's just one more barrier. It's all about stacking things on top of each other. At this point, we begin to peel and open the packaging. They have kind of a thing on the side. You just kind of peel it out like so. And what I like about these is now I have an area where I can set up. I can put my lubricant down. I can put my needle in the lubricant. I can put my jewelry in there. Everything that I need is set up on here. Then, once I've got everything opened and set up and ready to go, I will, first off, disinfect using a surgical scrub. Then I will mark the piercing using a one-usage surgical marker. After that's done, we take the gloves off, put on a new pair, actually do the piercing itself, paying attention that the only things we're touching are our client and this, nothing else. If during the procedure or soon after I need to get additional items, I will always remove my gloves, wash my hands if I feel it's necessary, in most cases it is, get the equipment out, put on a new pair of gloves, open it up again, exactly the same way. The idea is I don't want to take anything from here and put it in there. I don't want to take anything from there and put it in there. After we're all done, what I'll do is don a fresh pair of gloves if need be. So we're using 3 pairs of gloves. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 3 pairs of gloves. These cost roughly about 20 cents a pair. There's absolutely no reason why your piercer shouldn't be changing gloves all the time. And what we'll do at this point is we'll go ahead and take tools that we're going to reuse, put that in a hard surface cleaner down there to let it soak overnight, to decontaminate it so that it's safe for me to handle and begin the process of re-cleaning, decontaminating, re-cleaning, rebagging, and re-sterilizing. Items like needles will go into a sharps container. Anything with a point should go into a sharps container to be disposed of as medical waste. Everything else, what I generally do, I'm going to throw these over here, because we're going to rebag all this stuff. No sense in wasting. Waste not, want not, my mom always said. What I'll generally do at this point in time is then I will take the drape by the corners, fold it up, making sure that everything is inside the drape. Peel over a glove for an added layer of protection, and then dispose of that in the hot basket as in contaminated waste. That's based on, of course, then I would wash my hands and clean the tray again. So there's some things you want to look out for. And just to give you a brief idea of what you should look for when you're seeking out a piercer or watching them do their procedure, Changing gloves often, washing hands often, avoiding contact with objects outside of either the tray or yourself once those gloves are put on. For example, they shouldn't answer the phone, they shouldn't wait on other customers, they shouldn't get back into the cabinets over and over again and pull out additional stuff. Some people will glove before they set it in. There's nothing wrong with that as long as they change their gloves again before they begin the setup. So that's it. Just to kind of round things up, it's all about keeping you safe and keeping your piercer safe. Generally, when someone is not clean, they are putting their own health at risk more than even yours because they're in contact with this stuff all the time. This, once again, is in no way, shape, or form hey, go out and do it. This is more about learning what to look for when you come in to get a piercing from whoever. And possibly start a conversation with them, and maybe they'll learn something in the process that'll make you safer and them safer. Till next time, if you enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos on body piercing education, tattoos, body modification, etc., please subscribe. If you'd like to know every time we post a video, hit that notification bell. If not, don't hit it. And till next time, if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future.